Got it.
Let's see. Got it. Now record. All right. What's up, everybody? It's Kyle with another episode of Hillsborough and Hunted and Real with a longtime buddy of mine, Craig Risoli. Craig and I put a picture up last night of knowing each other. Oh, no. Forgot to mute the Facebook. There we go. And we've known each other probably slightly more than 30 years at this point. We're both 40 now, and it's been a really fun life journey kind of together for a while. So we played together as young kids, soccer. That picture was actually the state championship team. The 91. I
think right in there. Yeah, I think we were around like that second, third grade, fourth grade, somewhere in that area.
And that was the picture, I believe, with Mayor Biondi. Biondi, people might know the bypass, and that was a proclamation, I believe, with him. So why don't we start with, we did this last year. People loved it. Just kind of for people that are new to you or maybe they forgot, just tell us where you're living now. Tell us a little bit about the family, and I'll dive into it from there.
All right. I am bad with chronological order, so I'm going to bounce around all over the place, but I'll start with the most important, which is my family. So I'm 40 years old, born and raised in Hillsborough, married a girl from Hillsborough as well. My wife, Haley, we've got 3 kids, Dominic, Sadie, and Delaney, which are 8, 6, and 3. So quite busy. We're into it right now. My background is a combination of schooling, which is mechanical engineering, military, which is Army infantry, several jobs in corporate atmosphere, and now into the entrepreneurial atmosphere, which is basically e-commerce on one business. I have service-based appliance repair in another business. I'm an investor in a couple businesses, etc. As we all, start to get into the entrepreneurial head of things. So I think I hit kind of the wickets there, but we can dive into more details on any one of those that you wish.
Certainly. So let's start with your corporate background, right? I think that's going to be inspiring for people to hear about and relearn about you. So what were you doing, like, let's say, what is that now, 6, 7 years ago? Tell us what your professional life looked like.
6, 7 years ago, I was doing project management for a multi-billion-dollar bath and kitchen company called American Standard. So probably about 70% of the people, if you go into your bathroom right now, look at the toilet, sink, or tub or faucet, it's probably American Standard. It's either that or Kohler, one of the two, basically. 100-year-old companies and whatnot. So I got hired into there 2 steps out of college, but still very young, in the early 20s. And started as an engineering technician, worked my way up to when I eventually left and transitioned into my own business. Let's see, I left as a senior director or senior manager of engineering for our luxury goods department. So think about really fancy, like I said, bath and kitchenware.
Okay. And when you left, I remember you were doing well, right? By most people's standards.
Yeah, by most people's standards, in the grand scheme of things, successful, same company, 12 years, climbed the ranks, held in high regard, broke the 6-figure plateau of income, house, white picket fence, family, kids, right? So yeah, everything was great from the outside.
Sure. So what was it that was eating away at you on the inside?
Like I've gone over this in my head, and I tried to rationalize a great decision of what that would be, or a great reasoning that is, and I still haven't found one. I could say it was never a good fit, right? Like entrepreneurialism, whatever you want to call it, entrepreneurship was always kind of within me. I was always hustling. I was always looking to do something extra on the side, even those 12 years. I mean, you can bring this back into, me as a kid working at our family plant and vegetable stand that my grandparents had. So much stuff breeding into wanting to do something else, and corporate atmosphere just not being a good fit on the inside. part of my rebellious nature, it could be part of that, whole bunch of things. But essentially what kind of put the stake in the coffin was that I had taken a promotion that I, one, didn't really want, two, honestly, I probably wasn't ready for, and three, I did what the easy decision was. I chased the money. They dangled some money in front of me. So I had applied for another position over here. They said, that's fine and dandy. We actually need to fill this position over here, and we'll dangle this in front of you. And I went, ooh, like most people would, on a decent increase in salary. And I took that position to quickly find out, unfortunately, I didn't like the people that I worked with. It just wasn't a good fit. There was a lot of increased responsibility, even after I took the position. Just, oh, by the way, you got to do this as well. And I'm like, well, my experience is over here, but you want me to do this. And essentially after a year that, actually it was even quicker than that, about 6 months, my reputation in the company just went from being a performer to, hey, Craig can do this position, to, oh, maybe Craig isn't suited for this position. And like I said, I think that was mutual between, maybe I wasn't ready. I just wasn't getting along with the people. I didn't like what I was doing. I was still in the military part-time. I was going away on trainings and whatnot, which was affecting the projects going on. And all of that kind of blew up to eventually lead to, and unfortunately, a PIP within that corporate atmosphere. And for people that don't know that, it's a performance improvement plan. And essentially, corporate America's quick liability for you to exit that company. So them covering their asses, essentially.
And when did you formulate the plan for High Speed Daddy? We're going to dive a lot into that, but when did that start kicking around in your head? Like you realized you wanted to leave. Did you already have this idea, or was it just a general concept? Explain that to people.
I had formulated a plan for my own exit, leaving by myself. But there was things that were happening in tandem and in parallel going on. So I had probably visited the idea of creating my own brand and selling products through the Amazon community. This is circa 2015 that I kind of came across that specific niche in selling community, saying that I can develop a product. I have a product development background. I know how to source product. I know how to develop, source, and create a good product. I just don't know how to sell it. And that's where Amazon came into play. And for those of you that don't know, High Speed Daddy launched and came up through the Amazon community. And we branched out from there into, many other channels. So by the time that I was ready to leave corporate America, the plans for that was already in place. Were already in place. And I had already developed the product, prototyped it, and basically placed our first order with a contract manufacturer to make that product. By the time I left, I had just reached a point in that company where it was doing me more harm to stay there than good, taking the money out of the equation and having to pay bills and et cetera, just the mental and emotional space that I was in at the time.
Now, when you made that decision, what was, if you had to pick one fear, what was and put a word on it, or just describe it a little bit, what was that fear, and was it all an illusion?
One word. So we talked about this a little bit last time, and for those of you that don't know, Kyle kind of helped coach me through this transition, right? And it was very, very random, I guess is the key word for you and I. And I'll circle back around to the fear. It was very random how, we've known each other, at that point, damn near 25 plus years, similar friends, touch base, we run into each other here and there. You had your podcast going on, you have the gym stuff going on, personal development stuff going on. And I'm like, who in my community can help me work through these issues in my head between corporate and launching a new business? Who has done this? Who's been successful? Kyle's a dude, right? So reach out to Kyle. Hey, can I buy a coffee? some morning real quick, I don't know what I really want to talk about, but something within me is saying, you're the dude to talk to about this. And a couple of those 6 a.m. coffee mornings on a Saturday before meathead sessions. And I wasn't a member of the gym at the time, just getting in there quite early and just working through some stuff with Kyle, quickly found out that, you have some good stuff going on right now, except you're not very happy. You have some stuff over here, lots of unknown, but potential for a lot of happiness. So it's one of those definition of insanity, keep doing the same thing over and over again. Or what do you want to do? 5, 6, 7, like write out your fears, write out this stuff, write out all possibilities, pros, cons list, et cetera, et cetera. And then realizing that the fear of the unknown is just fear of something that you haven't done yet. Fear is misplaced anxiety. That's all that it is, right? It's something that hasn't happened in the future yet. And that's something that Kyle, you helped me kind of work through there. And then a lot of other stuff that, I kind of worked on myself and realized that, even if I took that leap off the ledge to try to do something on my own, one, I was betting on myself. I've always bet on myself. And I knew that I'd be okay if I bet on myself because I'd always land on my feet regardless. One, I got a built out degree. I have a degree and a built out resume. Worst comes to worst is I go find another job doing something similar at a different company. Might be less pay, might be farther drive, might be all these other things that aren't as good as maybe I have it right now, but I'd be okay. Two, at that point, I had put plans in place previously to bank some money, right? This wasn't a spur of the moment decision. I had a 3 and a 1-year-old at the time. I was still in the military part-time, making a little bit of money there. My wife being a school teacher, we had insurance under her. Like I had all these things in place. This was not like I'm done. I'm done right now. Didn't think it through. I'm just done. Screw you. Bye. No, this was a formulated plan, to make sure I had my bases covered. And a big promise to my wife and my family at that time was that I'm going to do this, but we're not going to change. It is not going to affect the style of life that we have right now. Yes, we'll have some cutbacks, but if we want to go on vacation, by God, we're going on vacation. Like for the kids were very young at the time, or at least the first two that I had. Third one came later on. But for the first two, I mean, at 3 and 1, they wouldn't really notice a difference besides the positive side of daddy's going to be home more often, which was also part of the plan, right? So for me, starting my own business was also, I want to be a stay-at-home dad as well. So, I know we've went around in a couple circles there, and I think I addressed the fear-based stuff a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent, man. Great. It's a great story. It's great background too for people to get into your psyche. Mm-hmm. Now, you started High Speed Daddy. Talk about where did the inspiration for that name come from? Where did the inspiration for that product, the initial product, the dad backpack, right? Or backpack. Talk about that.
Yep. So I wish I could say it was something like it just appeared in a dream at night and this and that, but it didn't. This was, again, you can kind of see I'm one of the people that put plans in place, right? Or if I don't know something, I'm going to go figure it out. So through kind of my research into what I previously mentioned, this Amazon selling community, I was listening to podcasts, reading blogs, et cetera, and I came across something called a touch list because I knew kind of what I had to do. I didn't have the product to sell. So this touch list was basically from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, everything you touch during that day, write down a list. You're talking hundreds of items, right? And what you would do is take a certain criteria and narrow that list down to things that you're passionate about, things that you think you can improve, things that you can do research into Amazon with certain software and see what's selling well, what's not selling well, all these different factors and what you can tailor the market, et cetera, et cetera. So what I kind of came down to was two major passions of mine. That a 3 and a 1-year-old. I knew that I wanted to be a stay-at-home dad. And I was still in the military at the time and still very passionate about it. I'm now out of the military, but I essentially took military life and fatherhood and then merged the two of them and created what at the time we called a military inspired diaper bag, There was another keyword for that I'm not legally allowed to talk to through trademark issues with competitors, because once you grow big enough in business, the sharks come out and try to keep the little guys down. But that's neither here nor there. But essentially, it's a manly diaper bag for dads to one, make dads a little bit more part of the equation instead of carrying around the flowery pink diaper bag. And hey, dads, if you're cool carrying that around and that's what you want to carry around, go ahead and carry that around. I wanted something more suited to me. So at the time, I was just carrying around my military or tactical backpack that I had, but it didn't have all the essentials tailored to other diaper bags that were out there on the market. So I did that. I merged those two together, came out with a couple of designs, went really deep into the research, found out there were a couple other brands out there doing that at the time, which at first swayed me away from that and saying, someone else is doing that, blah, blah, blah. But then I slept on it for a few days, but some gut feeling said, research this a little bit harder. And what I did was went really deep into who those competitors were, who owned those companies, who ran those companies, what their backgrounds were, the products themselves, read all the reviews, positive and negative, and came to the decision that I believe that I had a better story and I could create a better product than what they were currently serving the market with. And that's what I did.
That's what happened. What about the challenges? Talk about the challenges over the past, since we last spoke, right? Like with what's been going on with costs of goods around the world and shipping. And I know how much inventory you got to have on, like we've talked before, but talk about the challenges you faced in the past
6 months, a year, COVID.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do I start? Okay. So once you grow big enough, and I'm not saying I'm a huge company, right? We do have some employees, we hire some contractors, we have some agencies, and between all of that, we do run a 7-figure business. Because of that, we have to have certain inventory levels. This isn't me selling 5 pieces of product out of the house. We sell hundreds of products a day. Now, with that said, we do import our products, and the supply chain is affecting us just as it is everyone else. Now, what we do have in place are great people on our team that are much smarter than me that put plans in place for those supply chain hiccups and issues. So what we've done is we've rotated around some suppliers to help us with the importing of our goods, to help us on costs, so that container cost would not affect us as much. We changed the payment terms with our suppliers so that we're not putting out as much money up front as we would have to when the products land. So if people are, want to nerd out on some of the stuff like that, we changed our Inco terms with a supplier from buying FOB to buying DDP or landed cost. Instead of putting a certain percentage down up front and then paying the rest of it, we kind of split it up along the way. Things along those lines. And we have products that are in every stage of manufacturing and shipping and logistics, from, hey, we're going to be ordering this in this amount of time, to, hey, these consecutive containers are on the water and will be arriving at XYZ dates. And we have stuff in between. We started stock and release programs with our suppliers so that they could hold some of the inventory as finished goods, and then we would take it as finished goods. So it was a lot of renegotiation with our suppliers that they were, I guess, pre-COVID, not as much open to, but post-COVID, knowing that there's a lot of small fish in the sea that are going away and just can't survive this. To us saying, being aggressive and saying, no, we're doubling down, and, we'll put in contract, we will buy XYZ from you, but we need better terms to do all these things. So a lot of negotiation on that side with the suppliers and the logistics. That's probably the biggest hiccup. Now, what affects all that underneath is cash flow, right? We're putting a lot of money out because our lead times are longer now. So instead of a couple months, 2-3 months to get stuff landed between putting an order in, then purchasing products, manufacturing, and then shipping it, which was an average of about 3 months. Now we're out, 4 or 5 months, sometimes even longer. But putting orders in and having things in every different stage going is helping us mitigate a lot of those supply chain issues. And then the cash flow that kind of would take to run all that, but helping renegotiate the contracts a little bit in the terms have helped us in that aspect. So those are the two biggest ones. So supply chain and cash flow are the biggest headaches, and obviously making sure that everyone's paid and paid on time.
Yeah. People, I think a lot of people don't realize the stresses of.
Oh yeah. So I mean, we could save it for another podcast. I can get into it right now, and the whole, entrepreneurship is not, and having your own business, whether it's small business, big business, whatever it might be, is not necessarily all it's built up to be. It's not all, sunshine and rainbows. There's a lot of stresses that come along with this. When you go from being a sole proprietor, where it's like, oh, it just affects me, to, oh, I'm in charge of paying these people's livelihood. Now you do get to reap the benefits of that as well, such as, in another business that I'm an owner in, on the appliance side, on the service space, one of our technicians, I noticed at Christmas time, like, he was able to buy his kid a PS5. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, that's cool. And I took that a level deeper, peeled the onion layer back, and was like, I was part responsible for that. I hired him. I developed his comp plan with other partners of mine, that we were able to pay him more, and at better rates and stuff like that than he was working before. And now he's able to buy and purchase those things for his kids, right? Like, so taking that a level deeper and seeing the enjoyment that he gets from buying that specific item, which is at the time for this Christmas, like, very rare to get and very expensive, that he was able to do that for his son. And knowing that I was part and contributed to that was really, like, I got a lot out of that. So it kind of like mitigates the stress a little bit, when you see those cool things, right? What your employees are able to do, or, the people that work for you in some fashion. So
yeah, certainly, man. Yeah, that's the type of stuff that makes it well worth it. Mm-hmm. And with those hiccups you had, obviously it took a little bit of time probably to formulate those strategies.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys miss a beat, or did like the consumer not even realize that there was all this stuff going on behind the scenes? Was there a shortage of?
Yeah, the consumer. I mean, we're all over social media, and we're pretty active, right? Facebook, Instagram stories, things like that. I'm running everything behind the reel and whatnot. But we don't get into our back end too much, telling people, like, we kind of came out there, like, supply chain's hitting us just like it is everyone else. We're going to try to formulate plans so that we don't go out of stock. And if we do, bear with us. We do plan on putting stuff back in place. There's only been a couple times during this whole, year and a half or whatever that, we've been out of a product for more than 2-3 weeks. Right. And, I'd consider 2-3 weeks a small hiccup compared to, oh, you want to go buy, a television or, something else a year ago, or fitness equipment. You want to go buy fitness equipment a year ago, 6 months, see you later. Right. Yep. Like, no, we had saw some writing on the wall and started the talks to mitigate a lot of these risks. So we had a couple of hiccups where a couple products went out of stock for maybe more than, a month, but it never went more than 6 weeks, something along those lines. And most of the time is because we received an impact order that was from, I wouldn't even consider it a wholesaler, but someone came in and ordered a bulk amount of product, and I always realized, I always went by the saying that, a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. So if someone wants to buy 1,000 products of mine right now, 1,000 pieces, I'm going to sell those 1,000 pieces, and I'll deal with the after effect of the inventory shortage later. And that did happen this Christmas. We went out of stock on one product right at, Black Friday, and we were out until like January 1st. Unfortunately, because I say unfortunately, because if we had stuff in stock, probably could have made another 45 to 60 grand just in that one product.
And I think it's cool for people to see, like, being an entrepreneur, right, is really like it's a mental sport. You gotta stay sharp. You gotta be thinking ahead. You gotta, like you said, see the writing on the wall, mitigate stuff, and really, really well done by you guys.
Something that's, and something that's helped, and maybe it'll help some of the other people that run businesses, that are in your community and whatnot, and maybe our community, because we're going to end up resharing this and stuff as well, is forecasting, right? Not just inventory forecasting, but financial forecasting. What are your receivables that are going to come in, or what do you think your estimated receivables are going to come in? and your payments and stuff like that. So it's not just looking at your profit and loss and your balance sheet and your cash flow statement and stuff like that, because most of the time those reports are either for day of or maybe 15 days prior. It's all stuff that happened in the past, and you can trend some things, but projecting out 3 to 6 months will help you plan for a lot of these issues, like unless it's March 2020 and the world shuts down at that point, and you go, okay, well, where are we going from here? Where are we? What do we have in cash reserves? Which breeds a whole nother story of don't live paycheck to paycheck, put stuff away for a rainy day, things along those lines. Like you got to have plans in place. I remember I have a partner in High Speed Daddy, and I remember we saw a little decrease coming on. The March 20th hit, and then, started a flat line. The bulk of our sales were coming from Amazon. Amazon decided to prioritize essential items and, shipping out essential goods, toilet paper and stuff along those lines. And the bulk of our products did not fall underneath that. So a lot of people could just crumble. We're fucked. There's nothing we can do at that point. Like, just going to figure and see what happens. We didn't. I sat on it for a day and realized, like, okay, well, what are our options? Where are we? What do we need to do to ship these items? Can we still sell, through Amazon? Can we fulfill it manually? Yes, we can. Do we have a warehouse that can do it for us? Yes, we do. What do we need to do to turn them on, make them turn on? So create, this listing, copy it to a different style of Amazon buying listing. We'll fulfill it from our external warehouse. Boom, sales jump back up 60% in the next following days. So it's like, you got to keep rolling. You got to keep pivoting. You can it's a whole fight, flight, or freeze. You can freeze at that moment and say, we're screwed. There's nothing we can do, or you can pivot and fight back, so it's one of those deals. So I do the same thing in business.
Excellent, man. And that kind of segues into what I want to ask you about next. The concept of investing in yourself. I know you're still involved in masterminds, and you have coaches, and you got all this stuff going on. My buddy Vince, I've been with him now 12 years, maybe. Mm-hmm. So we have a similar mindset with that. But talk about the importance of investing in yourself, because I think that's the biggest ROI anybody can get. And what you do invest in as far as, because I think a lot of people got to see that you're constantly trying to get better.
Yeah, it's I'm a lifetime learner. That's whether people call it cliche or not. If I don't know how to do something, I'm going to go figure it out. And that's one of those things. So I always have a stack of books, behind me. You can see my little collection right there. I've got Audible and this and that. But besides reading blog posts, listening to Audible, have my books that I reference and all those things, investing in mentorships, masterminds. I'm part of a mastermind. And my thing with masterminds and mentors is I like to get like a flavor of them, get their thing under like a certain period of time, and then kind of move on to next, because I want to get someone else's flavor and like keep it all coming in from different people. So right now I'm part of a mastermind that's based upon fatherhood, marriage, and business, a combination of something called the Dad Edge. And if people are really into that stuff, it's the #1 family podcast that's out there under a guy called Larry Hagner. I was interviewed on that probably about 2 weeks ago. That podcast came out. If people want to go search my name on that one. And that was pretty cool because they've got quite the following. They've also got a huge mastermind. And I'm part of a little bit higher level mastermind, but not as many guys, but more focused on the business side of things, with including fatherhood and being a better husband. So that's something that's obviously tied to the heart and my own personal community through High Speed Daddy, where we help men provide, protect, and connect better with their family and loved ones, and helping them through the trials and tribulations of stress and anxiety that comes along with all that stuff. And that people don't really talk to, and it's kind of faux pas and this and that, and we peel the onion layers back and help men through these issues, depression, etc. But I have my own problems. I'm not going to pretend to be the know-it-all of things. So I solicit help and pay to be part of a mastermind and mentorship through those. I also have a private business and life coach on the side as well. It's funny. People ask, like, where do you learn these things? How do you learn about that? Well, check my network. I research, I do that, build relationships. I see what's going on. A lot of people don't even realize these things are out there, which is amazing to me. But I think back to where I was maybe 6 years ago, before I got into this kind of business community. And, like it, unless you're kind of looking for it, or someone, or you see them posting online about it, like you don't really know about these things as much, so that's why I really kind of blast stuff out there in social media, try to help out as much as I can. But yeah, I mean, the mentorship, and it's, for me, it's part therapy, so some people go to a specific therapist to work through issues. It's, for me, this is part of that. I just pay to be part of a mastermind, or I have my business coach, and it kind of crosses over with therapy a little bit, and that's helping me through some of my deep rooted things and some stuff that I'm facing, in front of me today. So it's, I get a lot out of it, and I'll always pay for that stuff, for someone to help me. And, hopefully in the future, that'll turn around where, not just my larger community of through High Speed Daddy, but even personally through Craig Risoli, I can help someone and mentor them, and I've had these conversations, but, it's been on my mind to possibly formalize it a little bit more and develop a program around it. So who knows what the future will hold.
Yeah. I think it'll be whatever it comes, it'll be the natural next progression for you.
Yes. Yeah.
And that ties into the last thing I had on my just scribble right here. You talked about the importance of how you are as a dad and being with these other dads in the mastermind. And how do you manage to live your life in harmony? I'm not going to say balance, because I don't believe that really exists, but like, you got all this stuff going on, and you got the kid, you got Haley, you got your personal health in this. How do you do that?
Still learning. Still figuring it out, but it's, you go through your roller coaster, right? I have, scheduling really helps out a lot. Proactive scheduling, not being reactive to things that you have to do, but proactively scheduling things that you want to do. I know Jordan Peterson really, the clinical psychologist, he really preaches that. And I know you've done a lot of preaching on that as well, Kyle, and all this has sunk in. And I'm able to harmonize better when my schedule is planned out to what I want to do. And you still have to get certain things done, but I'm going to schedule in that 30 minutes of reading. I'm going to schedule in that hour of exercise. I'm going to schedule in, the fun thing I want to do for the week, so all that. And then being reactive to some of the things that you have to do, is a little bit easier at that point, because you have stuff that you've already done that you wanted to do. It's not just, oh, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. It's, oh, I got to do this. Yes, I'll do this. I'll do this. It'll bring me closer to doing that. Or if I get these done quicker, more efficiently, which kind of the scheduling helps with, then I can go right into doing something else for me that I want to do. The other thing is the mindset shift and the wording around things. I have to pick up my kids from the bus stop at 3:40 today, or I get to pick up the kids at the bus stop at 3:40 today, because that's what I want to do. And I'm going to tailor my business schedule around that. So that's part of the thing, being a stay-at-home dad, that I want to do. I want to put the kids on the bus in the morning, and I want to get the kids off the bus in the afternoon. And then, my work day starts when, it depends how you look at it and what a work day is and this and that. It could start early in the morning. I'm up at 5:30. I exercise for a half. This is a newer routine that I've been doing. But my newest routine is wake up at 5:30. I'm downstairs. I have a home gym. And I exercise for 30 minutes. I jump in a sauna for 30 minutes, take my cold shower, and then start the day as the kids wake up and stuff like that. Get the kids out, wife out the door, onto the bus, etc. My day starts at 9 o'clock. I work until 3:30. And then, 3:40, I get the kids off the bus, and I'm dad then. I did everything I wanted to in those 6.5 hours, including eating, whatever it might be. If I want to go for a walk in the middle of the day, I'll schedule it in, or if I get something done, efficiently, then I can do that. So it's all how you want to tailor it.
Excellent. So in the process of mastering your time, which is always, like you said, a work in progress. But I still think
Yeah. Things are always changing.
yeah, yeah, and I think but it's very inspiring, just watching you and seeing everything you're doing. There's a lot of people that could seem almost like superhuman, but I think you just gave away some of your secrets as far as the investing in yourself and the commitment to your time, right? Like it's not, oh, let me see what I feel like doing today. No, this is what you got planned.
Mhm.
This is what you're going to do.
Yeah, that starts the night before, the week before, the month before, depending on what your goals are. It can go into a whole goal setting method,
Yeah.
and the whole scheduling aspect to it. Yeah, it's cool when you can get that stuff down and see how efficient you can really get, right? It's really neat. And there is something to be said for Jocko Willink's, discipline equals freedom, and how you want to build it. But there's sacrifices that come along with that as well, depending on how you look at it and what you want to do, such as, I don't do news. I don't follow news. It's emotional drain for me. I really don't believe in it. I don't think anyone should watch news. I think it's all crap. That's my opinion. There's a lot of others that agree with that. Not for nothing, I'm not a sports guy. I don't get sucked into the Sunday football stuff, basketball games, this and that. I'll watch the game for the sake of the game. I don't have favorite teams. I don't get sucked into player statistics and all that. I think that's excess space that could be occupied with things that I'm interested in, family business, stuff like that. Right or wrong, that's just what I do. So, TV, sitcoms, like I'll watch TV at night with my wife and stuff like that. I worked my ass off during the day. I'll reward myself. I'll sit on the couch at night and do that. If I have everything planned out for the next day already, and do things along those lines. But I don't get excessive with that either. So you kind of have to be disciplined to how you're spending your time and what you want to be occupying the brain space with. So I may not go out, with certain people as much, but nowadays I'm 40 and I don't really want to anyway, so like I'll still go out and I'll do this, and I've got date nights planned with my wife, and we'll take the kids out and we'll go with, the family and get the kids, the cousins together. Every now and then we've got the boys' night and this and that, but it's nothing in excess. It's more in the moderation, because I'm working other things.
Yeah, man, it's inspiring. I can tell when I get inspired to be better and do better, it's good. So, good job, man. What last thing? What's your favorite current book? Reading or recently read?
I literally have it in front of me. I'm about halfway through it. It's called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Oh yeah.
There you go. It's backwards. Yeah, it's not a newer one. It's a little bit older, but I hadn't read it before, so I'm about halfway through it, and that's the newest book that I'm working on right now. And I like to recycle books too. I'll read a new one and then I'll kind of go back, and I may not open a page every day, and stuff like that, but it is something that I want to get more into. Or back into, because I was pretty good with reading every single day for a while there. So it's the ebbs and flows a little bit.
Sure. Now, where can people either find you or get on your email list or buy a High Speed Daddy product? Just tell us that, and I'll put it on the show notes too.
Yeah, so we didn't talk a heck of a lot about High Speed Daddy and everything that we do, but please come check us out. We're all over social media, so highspeeddaddy.com. You can get on our email list there. You can email me direct at craig@highspeeddaddy.com. We're on Instagram, all Facebook messages, Instagram messages, all those DMs come to me direct. I still control all that. Let's see what else. If you have any questions about anything, pretty well versed, been around the block a little bit. We didn't really get into my military history. We kind of talked about that last time. Questions with that, transitioning, any veterans out there that need help, please reach out. We've got a great network of people, outside of myself, that can help with all things.
Excellent, man. Well, great job, man. This was awesome. I'm going to bring this to a close. Give me one sec.